uh, datingwhileadulting.com. Thank you for all for coming back. We really appreciate you. One of the things that you will probably notice, and you've already heard it at this point, if you are listening to the podcast, is we started at taking little snippets from the show and adding it at the beginning to give you an idea of what it's going to be like. So hopefully you've heard that and you appreciate it. It at least gives you an idea of what you can expect as we ramble all around the place. I am Michael. That is Reggie. Say hi, Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
I appreciate that. And like I said, we have a tradition around here where we like to give props to those who are still getting it done as they get older in life. Today,
Get it done. Get her done.
today,
Can we do that? That's a new segment. The get her done. The get her done segment.
okay, that works for me. And in today we're shouting out in that segment, Anika Noni Rose. Anika Noni Rose is 48 years
Hold
old.
up. I don't know her.
Oh, you should look her up.
I'm looking. That's what I do.
And she's a Virgo, which
I
explains
can't mess with her.
which
Oh,
explains one why Reggie can't mess with her.
oh no, I can mess with her.
Okay.
I recently changed my mind.
Okay. It explains too why she's single because as everybody knows, it follows this stuff that Virgos are the hardest signs to love.
Uh, Hold up. Let me run through this.
Okay.
Pisces.
Um
I mean,
um
trust me, you guys are difficult. But see, you dealing with Leo, who has quote unquote analytical, logical leaning. So you're not as difficult versus most people for me personally. But if I had to go down the list,
well,
and
I
I'm
know
married to a Cancer, and Scorpio's a freak, so that right lives up my wheelhouse. So Pisces.
um as the child of a Pisces, I can't speak to how difficult they can be. I love you though, mom. But
You better.
yeah, right. But with that said, I think what it comes down to is when you look at people of this age who have never been married, more times than not, they wind up being Virgos. And it's not necessarily that we're hard to love because we're difficult. Um, we're kind of hard to even get to that point because we don't do a really good job of letting people in. So yeah. So when I looked at because I've been following Anika Noni Rose for a minute,
I bet you
and
have, you pervert.
and when I first saw that she was single and had never been married, I was like, boy, 10 to 1, she's a Virgo. And sure
Oh
enough,
shit. She with the fam. Go
and
HBU. Oh, I may have to look
oh,
her up now.
okay, ish. Reggie thinks that every black woman that went to a HBCU is a freak. So I
No,
don't know
no,
if
I
that.
no, I just have special loyalties to them,
Oh, okay.
which is why sometimes I throw my
Oh,
wife under the bus because she went to a PWI.
like myself.
Yeah,
And well, you had no problem throwing
I no,
Kamala,
I no, no, I
Kamala under
told
the
you.
bus.
No, Kamala went to Howard.
Right. And you always made a point in previous podcasts to talk about what a slut she was.
I didn't say she was a slut. Oh,
Okay.
well, okay, let me put it this way. Only reason she's a slut because he ain't slut me, so I'm mad. No
Okay.
Haiti, but she's my girl. Like no, no, no. All BS in the side. She's my girl.
Okay. On that note, let's move on to the topic for the day before we turn even more people off. And
I guess that's what we do best, all right.
see, well, you do.
Mm.
But but this one is actually interesting to me. Not that they're all not interesting to me, but this is something that is more interesting, I guess I can say. I don't know how else to describe it. But this is talking about phases in relationships
Mm.
and the differences in how people are in different phases of relationships. Now, I've come up with four
Okay.
relationship phases. And as I mentioned the four, I'll explain what they are for those that aren't self-explanatory.
They're
And
not because I have no idea.
yeah, and I'll also speak for myself in what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and what I don't know.
Okay.
The first phase in relationships is that initial approach.
The chase.
Yeah, the chase. Well, not even the chase,
Okay,
because
the chase would actually be the second one, right?
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Cool.
yeah. Don't get ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, but
Because
this,
everyone just figure out what my favorite one is. So
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. And this is the approach. This is, you see somebody, you're interested, you step to them, you get a number and all that stuff. And going back to, I think the episode that we had, the Ask a Woman episode, where we talked about confidence, and Nicole talked about the things that she did to make men feel comfortable because guys are shy, and Reggie couldn't understand the concept of men being shy.
I still don't understand that.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so
What do you
that's
mean? No, no, no. What you mean, whatever? Because we are built to be we are built for rejection. If you want something, you go after it, and sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it's not. Now, granted, there's some guys who are more sensitive to being rejected. I get that, understand that. But at the same time, even the shyest guy, I hope, when they see a woman that they think they can vibe with, will find enough courage to say, "Hey, you want to go play video games with me or some shit like that?" I'm just saying.
Well, I disagree that we are that men are built that way. I think it's a learned behavior, and it's a behavior that a lot of men don't learn. And you can tell that they haven't necessarily learned it by their reactions to rejection. Guys, for example, that that are online dating or whatever, that are like stalking women and stuff like that, and all of that
Stalking.
stuff. Those are nah, dudes are actually a call a woman 150 times if they don't block them. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, it's crazy out here talking to women about some of the issues that they've had, and giving out their number and having men call them, like, even after they say, "I don't want to do this anymore with you." And this is before they even establish anything, just an initial conversation. It's like weird how guys react to that. So yeah, so the approach phase,
Really?
yeah, man.
I'm like I said, I'm fascinated because I'm married, so I did my little experiment, but I got bored already,
You
so I disconnected.
And,
But
and yeah, and that's why I'm always like, you like saying I'm becoming a woman, but that's why I defend them, because in talking to them and hearing some of the stories that they tell, it is some interesting stuff. The way guys react when a woman will tell them, even if it's a woman that they don't really know that well, but when a woman tells them that, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore." Yeah, guys getting their feelings about that. And I think it's partially because I know, and it's amazing that it happens at this age. You would think that everybody would
and,
be
and, and that's them. See, this is the fascination I have. It's like I don't, like I said, I'm out the game, so I don't understand it as fluently as you do.
right.
But at the
And
same time, it's like, okay,
right.
well, no. Before we get there, I want you to table that, but don't forget it because you need to go through the phases because
Well,
you
well,
skip phases
well,
for
no,
me.
this is still the first phase. It's
Oh,
I see what you're saying, because they've
okay.
already gotten past that to get to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. We'll come back to that. But as far as approaching someone, this is why I talk about online dating so much. And I think I mentioned in a previous podcast how it gives those guys that never had the courage to ask a woman out, it gives them that boost, because you don't actually have to see the woman. You can just look at a picture of them and hit a button. And it could be a woman that you never would have stepped to in any aspect of your life normally. But now it gives you that confidence. So those people, to your point, that are too shy to step to a woman, who haven't built up that resistance to rejection, it's almost like they're experiencing it from the first time, and they're like their emotional growth is kind of stunted in that area.
Okay.
So that's why they like crying and calling somebody 100 times and all of that stuff. Um, when they're told that you might not be the person for me. So that's the first phase.
Cause like I said, I did my experiment with my my wife approval, and
The experiment he's referring to is he actually created an online account.
so I talked to a couple of people and blah blah blah. Well, we hit the match, and the one thing I want to talk about this aspect of it is if I hit a match and you hit a match back, so if I engage in a conversation, going back to our previous podcast about texting versus talking. When you're talking to someone, you can gauge whether they're interested or not.
Yes.
Uh, the issue that I had with not the podcast, with the experiment was this. I say, "Oh yeah, you're cute." I see where I read your bio. I should read the bio and say, "Okay, like," and then you like back. So then I say, "Hello, good evening," and you get nothing. You get crickets. What the hell is that about?
That happens all the time, and that happens to both men and women.
I understand. Okay, that's fine. But so why the hell did you take the time to hit match if you're not going to engage in the conversation? Because in my world, crazy world as it is, if I'm not trying to be curious about who you are and I think you're attractive, whatever, for whatever reason, I'm not going to hit like, I'm going to hit the other X. I'm going to hit the X and keep moving.
I'll be honest. The reason that I've done it when I've done it is because mm, sometimes when you get on those rolls and you're just like swiping, 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 and then it's like, okay, she's she's cute. I guess I'll hit it. I'm not really sure about her. I'll hit it. And then it's like if they do actually like hit it and you're matched together, and then you go back and revisit their profile, you'll be like, no, I really wasn't feeling you. So that's part of the reason
So
that
it's the ego being filled the fact that someone actually liked me, so I like you too. So, but then at the same time, it's almost like flirting in the real world. To me, this is how I equate it because
hmm,
I flirt a lot and I get in trouble for flirting a lot. But my wife understands. I flirt because it's the ego boost, but I'm not trying to take any one of these chicks home. But it's the ego boost.
yeah, but when I hit a hard on somebody and I'm on the fence about
Well, you
them,
what you mean?
huh?
I thought the heart was the crush thing.
No, I'm talking about in this particular conversation, talking about Facebook dating, where the heart
Yeah.
just says that you like them.
Okay.
There's no super crush. That's match. Um, but but when I hit it in those cases, it's like, I don't know. It's like, and half the time, for a guy, they might not even like hit it back. So you might not even be a match, but just in case you're a match. And then it's like, nah, it's not. So so that's phase number one.
Hmm.
And what's interesting about phase number one is that there are a lot of guys who aren't good at that because they will not step up to a woman. Online dating has helped them in that regard because it gives them a little bit more confidence to do something they wouldn't normally do. But still, their emotional growth is stunted because if they have not had the ability to approach a woman, I don't really know how they would do in any of the other phases. Okay. Second phase is the courting phase, as Reggie also referred to it as the
The
chase.
chase.
And Reggie gets excited like a lot of men do because for
We
a
love the
lot of
chase.
men, this is their favorite phase. Now, if they are good at that, they are also good at the approaching phase, phase number one. So if you're good at number two, you're most likely good at number one. Me, myself, I am not good at number two. And part of the reason for it is because it's funny because guys who are really good at this, who really like to chase, it's almost like they don't have any self-respect. It's like they'll do,
What do you mean we don't have any self-respect? What
I
the hell?
mean, it's just the enjoyment of it. It's like,
It's the hunt. It's the manly man thing. We like to hunt, fishing, hunting, that shit.
I don't like to hunt. And when we talk about another podcast that we recorded about texting versus talking, when I think about that courting phase or the chase phase and stuff like that, I'm just so bad because I don't know how much calling should I do? Should I call you every day? How long should I talk? Should I text versus call? Am I calling too much? Am I calling too little? Am I texting too much? Am I texting too little?
You
It's
actually
just
think
like
about that shit?
And that's why I talk about the self-respecting part of it that a lot of people that like to chase don't have because they don't think about that. And as such, if they're doing too much and looking like an ass, they don't care because they're just in it for the chase. If they're doing too little and looking like a
They don't
simp,
care.
they don't care.
No, it's a self-respect thing because they know who they are. It's not. It's like, oh, when I hear, okay, let me back up. I am wrong. Oh, wow, twice. Damn, what the fuck? 2021 twice. Um, define this kind of terms of self-respect because I took it as a negative denotation.
No, like I said, if they'll call a woman 15 times a day and they don't care if it makes them look like an ass. Uh, they
Because they
don't.
don't, but that has nothing to do with their self-respect. They just like, okay, I want to call it 15 times a day because I'm confident who I am. But self-respect is the wrong word versus social awareness.
I don't know. If you are doing something and you are being roundly criticized for that thing that you do, and you continue to do it despite the criticism, I I guess we're talking about semantics, but
Well, I can see we're going back to the time calling 15 times a day. You do seem, as they like to say, thirsty. So I get that aspect. Because trust me, I'm not gonna call 15 times a day. You may get me to call you 15 times in 6 weeks, but, that's a whole different issue. Um,
well, I mean, shoot, because I've seen guys do things during that courting phase and stuff like that, and I think to myself, man, have some dignity, man. It's
okay,
like,
like I said, okay, I get what you're saying now. You're
yeah,
talking about the other extreme of my spectrum where you look thirsty.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you never see, oh my God, she likes me. So I got to flood her.
Yeah.
I get okay, I got you.
So I've actually had women tell me that it appeared that I wasn't interested because I didn't pursue enough or I didn't do enough. But yet you'll talk to women. Remember when Nicole was on the show, and this might have been off mic when she was asking about a guy that brings roses on the first date. And it's like,
He's a simp.
right. And she first of all, he's not, but that
I
was
just
what she was thinking. So during that courting phase or that chase phase, there's like a line that you have to walk if you care at all between doing too much and looking like a simp or not doing enough and showing it and not showing enough interest.
actually I want to address that. And I said that off the cuff, but I actually want to address that on the real. I would bring roses to a date, but there's a way that you could present it that doesn't make you look like a simp. If the present is all is as they say in cooking, it's always about the presentation.
I've never given anybody roses on the first date. But I will say that if you disqualify a dude because he likes you enough or at least shows enough interest to do something nice for you that represents him, it, I don't know
I,
what that says about the person receiving the gift
I get
because
that. I get that. Mhm.
that could be a decent dude and you
That could
just
be,
throwing him out and it's like because
but you
he's
want,
doing too much.
yeah, because but you want to go with the dog, and then you always talk about how men are trash.
Right, right. It's it's yeah. So it's like so as a man, during that phase, the reason I'm bad at it is because I just don't really know where that line is. And I care, unlike a lot of people that care about the chase, I
I,
care too much.
I
And
love the chase.
then I understand and then it's like I just and the other part is I do value myself. And
Oh wait,
because
that sounds like a slight. I don't value myself because I love the chase.
no, no. Let me put it in a better way.
Yes,
Because of
please
the
do.
phases that we're going to go into next, I don't want to water down or taint the other phases at the expense of this one.
Okay.
Um, I don't want to, and this is the problem with a lot of dudes who are in it for the chase. They chase these women, they get these women, and then these women have an expectation, and don't understand that that guy was just chasing you because that's a sport to him, not because he's really into you and doing something that can be consistently kept up. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
misleading in a sense.
Okay, no, no. I'm glad you specified that because it goes back to another one of our podcasts, where I sit there and said, don't do stuff that you're not going to continue. And so
Right.
when I do the chase is authentically me, and I will, I do, back in the day, I do catch and release. I do catch and release. Uh, but at the same time, if I did catch and keep, the chase part is actually who I am.
Well, I guess the problem is it's like when you chase, if you call it chasing someone, once you quote unquote catch them, how can you do the same things that you did while you were chasing when you have them?
But that goes back to who you really are. Like I said, if I bring roses to the first date, I'm going to always bring well, I will always bring roses, but they will be segmented throughout the relationship, and it's not gonna be on Valentine's Day. A foreshadowing here. But I will bring you flowers like, oh, Reggie, because as we talked about in one of our podcasts, I am romantical. And I'd be like, I think I want to send her flowers just because I just feel like it. And I'll do it. And I have my wife would attest to it. So I'm not going to do anything in that chase phase that I won't do. I cannot sustain because
Okay.
that's just who I am.
Well, that's cool. And a lot of people will not necessarily, because the chase is the thing that they're great at. The only other thing I'll talk about is when talking about the chase and from a female perspective, the whole quote unquote catch and release thing is incredibly offensive be- because that's basically saying that you are chasing someone and giving them the idea of what something is going to be so you can quote unquote release them once you're done with the sporting aspect of it. Why I keep doing this?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I, yeah, you can say what it is, but at the same time, both genders do it. And so I'm not going to find any, oh, well, no, no. They both do it. And I would agree with you to this aspect. The catch and release thing is offensive to me when you take it to the point where there are actual attachment feelings going to both sides, and the other person, neither one of them actually know that we're just chasing releasing.
I thi-
We're just having fun and blah blah blah. When there's actually emotions going on and you keep doing it, you're right. But like I said, in the flirtation game, yo, we just chilling, we flirting. I think you're cute, blah blah, going on dates and blah blah. But as we talked about before, when stuff started to get serious, those are conversations that need to be had. Yo, where are we going with this now? Because I'm actually starting to catch feelings for you.
So how do you catch someone in this catch and release scenario without feelings being
Well,
involved?
like I said, for me, my catch and release is the fact that I go to a bar and me and this chick is talking, and I get a phone number and blah blah. And other than that, it's like, oh, okay, cool, I'm done.
Okay, and that's cool.
And that's it for me.
Okay,
Even back in the day.
okay.
Now, if I get the number and I call and we're talking and blah blah, it's not when I call, there's no more catch and release.
Well, see, here's the thing. It's like you were the same person that just 5 minutes ago was complaining about when you did your experiment online and you matched up with a woman and you reach out and she wouldn't hit you back and you were complaining about that like it was a bad thing. But you
But
can brag about going to get a number of
no,
someone
no, no. But
bad
hold
thing
up,
to
hold up.
call.
Like I said, I'm crossing the streams as they did in Ghostbusters because you gotta remember I'm a married man. So back when I was younger, if I got the number, because I catch and release now, so that's where the catch and release comes in because I'm not trying to hit on the side,
Well, it's
but
not about what you're doing. It's about how they see it. If they're getting if you're getting their number, they have an expectation that you're going to call them. So it's not about whether you call them or not. It's that
but see on the flip side of this, how many times that you actually got the number and it wasn't real? So, like I said, I know that we're not letting women off the hook. We're not letting women off the hook. So it's both ways here.
Well, I guess the reason that this is going back and forth on this is because you talk about it in a bragging way. And so we don't have a woman here that's bragging about anything that she's done. It's almost like you're deflecting because by saying it's like Michael Vick. Michael Vick, he killed dogs. He admitted to killing dogs, and all of his defenders would be like, "Well, it's people out here that kill people that got less time." It doesn't make it right just because somebody else did worse or did the same thing. And you're saying, well, I do this and this is what I'm proud of having done,
I
but
don't know. I'm not saying
women
I'm
do it
proud of
too.
it. I just said I do it.
You were talking about like it was like you were proud
Oh
of
no, it's a
it.
sport. I
Yourself.
ain't gonna lie, but I'm not gonna like hell. I don't care. It's a sport.
And this is why I have such a hard time with women trusting me.
It's a sport. But at the
But
same time, as many times as in my life that I got played, I at the point where okay, cool. This is what the game is. So cool. This is why we're gonna play the game.
I've been played, but I don't see the game that way. But
Yeah.
I'm not on that whole like do something, treat somebody else bad because somebody else treated me bad. I can
I,
see if you were getting back at that person, but taking
it's,
this woman who didn't do anything to you
I'm
and
not.
giving her a false sense is not fair because some other woman did something to you.
No, it's the fact. Like I said, there's details I'm not going into right now. Um, so it's not as black and white.
See,
But let's just say that the woman that was the catch and release was not necessarily unaware of the intentions. The intentions were always, and I say always, put up front.
see, you make me argue with you.
I
It's like
know.
it's like you always give me grief about defending women, but you always put me in this position.
Yeah, because you love them.
I do. I
And trust
do.
me, I love them too, but I love them in a different way. Hold on.
Moving
Okay.
on to our third one.
Yeah, but say, forget all that. We need to get yeah. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done with that.
Pretty much.
And this is the dating phase.
What you need to like really you need to really like expound on because
That's right. That's
this is
right.
the part where I remember in one of our earlier podcasts, I asked you what is the purpose of dating. So
You know what? And to be honest, I misnamed that. I shouldn't have called it dating because dating is part of the chase courting phase. Actually, this should be like more of the commitment phase.
oh, see
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
see
So
that
that's my fault.
so
Uh,
that whole argument we just had about the catch and release is now null and void because
well,
the catch and release part goes in the first part, not the
well,
second part.
Well, not really, because the catch and release, the second phase, the courting phase, can involve dates. It can be as simple as getting a number, or it can be as complex as dating someone over a period of time.
Uh, we,
Be-
we,
be- because that the reason I'm bad at it, if you add dating to it, because I don't know, like, especially like now in COVID and stuff like that. Obviously, if everything was open and everybody was like not as scared, they'd be like, okay, let's do this, let's go hang out here, let's do this, let's have a date. But now with all of this, I don't even know how to suggest to a woman to do something because I don't want to go walk through another park. So
Because my no, because my thing is this: going back to that the part where you were begging me on, it goes back to what we were talking about on the Facebook dating thing, where, in my opinion, the catch and release is the fact that you actually clicked on a like, and I sit there and have and say, "Oh, good evening," and you don't respond. It's the same exact thing. It's the
um,
same exact thing as me flirting all night and getting your phone number.
it, I, I guess I didn't mean to go back to this, but I guess from my perspective, it is because I mentioned like not being on the fence about somebody and hitting the heart and figure it out later. I don't speak about those things with like the glee that I perceived from you when you talked about the chase and the catch and release and stuff. It was like you revel in doing that to people, and it's not something that is, I would imagine that women and men, I guess, that you refer to that has been done to, um, would think of it.
Everyone, everyone, in the dark places that we don't want to admit out loud, everyone like their ego stroked, and everyone wants to still feel like they're pretty, even if they're married. And trust me, there's a whole bunch of married women who will flirt with a guy when their husband not around, just so they can still feel pretty, but they're not going to do anything with that.
But I'm not talking about it from the perspective of the guy that's or the woman that's actually going out and flirting to get their ego stroked. I'm talking about the other person who they're flirting with who thinks that, oh, shoot, this could really be something. Oh, shoot.
But you got to, but see, but hold up. This is another aspect of this that you're forgetting. You're a single guy. Most married people have the ring on. Therefore, like I said, there's a clear sign. Ding. So like I said, there is a difference. That is one of the differences that does happen. So, and
Well,
it's an ego stroke for a lot of people if they play it correctly and you realize, oh, that was a good game. I like you like me, you're cute, blah blah. But my ego stroke. I still realize I still got it.
okay, let me ask you this, and then we'll move on.
Mhm.
Okay, you point to the ring. I get the impression that you were doing that before you had a ring on.
Actually, no, I wasn't.
Okay. So you didn't chase, you didn't catch and
No,
release,
I,
quote
I,
unquote,
I I
before
still
you were
love it.
married.
No, I didn't catch it really. I still chase. I love the chase. I love the chase. I love the courtship aspect of this.
Okay.
I just didn't release
Okay.
because
Okay.
I had no reason to release because I was trying to get, I was trying to, as you like to say, find my soulmate. So
Interesting.
there was no releasing at that point.
Okay. Interesting to hear the married man talk about catch and release. But moving on, the third phase, the commitment phase. And while I am not good at the courting phase, the approaching phase is kind of iffy because, as we talked about in other podcasts, where I have to weigh 14, 15 different options before I make my determination whether to approach a woman or not. So I'll just leave it incomplete on that phase. But the commitment phase, I mean, not to toot and all of that, but
He's too tooting.
I am.
Yeah.
I am great at that phase.
Just like I was so gleeful with the chase phase, he's gleeful about the commitment phase.
Yep.
So
And
women, listen up.
I am great at that. And while like Reggie and the catch and release and all that stuff, while he might have left some women hurt. Some women might get hurt, but they cannot put that mess on me.
So have fun with me, but marry Michael.
Yeah, okay. That'll work.
That'll work.
That works for me. But yeah, once we get past, if a woman can get past the awkwardness of the courting phase with me, and if they stick with me and if I stick with them and we
That,
actually commit.
and that's the big way. He's sticking with them.
Oh, I'm going to tell you to shut up, but it's a podcast. If we agree to stick with each other through that awkward courting phase, that's to me where the rubber meets the road. And that's when we start really having the fun that I like to have. Because, I, and this might be part of my issue with the courting phase, is a lot of the things that I do and the fun that I have, it's like, I, I don't know if certain people deserve that. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's a certain intimacy. I get that. I already knew you were going before you said it. You're not trying to share that part of you with just anybody.
yeah, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus as I throw somebody under the bus.
Throw them under the bus.
My 50th birthday was in September, and Reggie came down, and we had a whole week where we just did stuff to celebrate because we couldn't go to Europe like we had originally planned.
Bummer.
And the woman that I was dating at the time,
Mm.
she was a part of that. And when I look back at it, I'm just like, she didn't deserve to be a part of that. It's like she did not deserve all that happened during that. She did not deserve to be a part of that. But when we are committed and that's my woman and stuff like that, you do deserve that. And even though technically we were committed, still we had so many bumps in it. It was like almost like we like got knocked back down to phase number two.
Actually, I would actually want you to expound on this a little bit more because I was having an issue trying to explain this to someone about, when you're in the first two phases, you can do that with just anybody.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah.
but when you start getting that third phase, you need to be a little bit, not a little bit, you need to be a lot more discriminate. You're not sharing your 50th birthday with just anybody. You're
Right.
not going to Portugal and Spain with just anybody. And I was trying to explain to this person about understanding those differences because even with me, yeah, I do my flirting and there's certain things that I do that's constant. But once I realize, yes, I'm committed to you, there's a whole different room.
Right. And all of that stuff is catered toward that person that I'm with, what she likes, what she's into.
Hmm.
It's not generic, like you say, it's catered.
It's
And it's,
catered.
and it's not
Mhm.
like unlike some women who say that once they commit, they'll give a man all, but it's all of the shit that they don't want.
Exactly.
I'll give all of the stuff that they do
Do
want, and I'll
want.
keep stuff away from them that they don't want. It's just a whole different level.
Yes.
And so yeah, I've had friends will be like, yo, we're going here. You coming? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll come. It's like, yeah, well, bring a date. And I'll be like, nah, I'm not bringing anybody. And they'll be like, shoot, women bring no, nah, they don't deserve it.
Exactly. Because
They don't deserve it.
I hit 45, hit 40, hit 40. Well, I didn't hit 40. Well, I did hit 40 because I'm 51 now. A friend of mine hit 40, Joseph. Who's Joseph?
Who's just
He's a good friend of mine. Um, and we jumped out of an airplane untethered, went to the class, do all this. I spent a couple, 45 and 50 were people that I felt special for because those are special milestone events. I'm not just going to say, oh, just anyone is going to experience those milestone events with me just because they just happen to be there.
right.
And I totally understand with that, you know, what you said about you need to be discriminate. And but this goes even deeper. When you get to phase three, that's when the vetting needs to start of who the hell do you are you trying to quote unquote spend the rest of your life with?
Right.
Not just someone because, oh, I don't want to be alone and companionship and all this other shit that people like to throw out there. It's like, do you actually like the motherfucker? Do you actually like him? Do you like him?
Right. And how much do you like them? Do you like them enough to see them every day for the next 40 years?
Exactly.
And that's an important question that enough people don't answer. And that leads to the fourth phase and the last phase, which is a phase that, okay, number one, I'm okay at, not great. Number two, I'm not good at all. Number three, I am excellent at. Number four, it's an incomplete because I have no idea, and that is marriage. Reggie, married person on this podcast episode, are you good at this phase?
Yes and no. And I hate the ambiguity on this aspect of this. Um, because in theor philosophically and theoretically, if you got to the phase where you want to ask someone to spend the rest of your life with, the only difference between that third phase and that fourth phase is the fact that you have a legal piece of paper that if you want to leave that person, it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars.
So,
Because in my mind, you're more the religious guy, but I'm more spiritual guy. If you got to the phase where you even thought about, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, spiritual to me, regardless of a piece of paper, you're married. You're married. You're bound.
so why'd you feel the need to get the piece of paper?
Well, that's because some people don't feel like it's official unless you have that piece of paper and some guy comes in and say, "Hey, you're not married," and last name and all your taxes go up and all the bullshit. Um,
Okay.
because it goes back to the one thing about how we talked about this on one of the podcasts where people could be together and doing all the married things for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
All the married have kids, all the married things. But as soon as they got married, they divorced like a year later. And the only thing that really changed is the fact they got that piece of paper and the expectations change. But at the same time, in my point of view, it's like, why would the expectation change just because you got the piece of paper if you were doing everything that a marriage entails you to do? I
Yeah.
don't, because it still boggles my mind. Only thing that changes is the fact that you got that piece of paper and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to leave.
It's funny to me how at the peak of it- at the peak of my liking someone, I think, and I've actually told women before, I like you right now. Almost like I'm saying, don't change. This is what drew me to you. This is what got me to this place. Just keep on this track. But then things change, and it's like I don't really get why things change. And from my from
Change for you or for her or
it
all around?
um she changed, which changed the way that I thought about her.
Okay.
And oftentimes it's because of some emotional reason. It's like more emotion is injected, and as such it turns me off more, and it's not good emotion. It's
But see that, but we're saying the same thing because it's the expectation now, and it's the expectations for the most part, particularly undeclared expectations, kill relationships for the most part. Because logically speaking, in your wheelhouse,
Mhm.
what is really the difference between the minute you sit there and say, well, the day before you sit there and say, I'm going to marry this chick, and you actually say, let's get married, and the day after you get married, outside of the fact that you have a whole bunch of legal obligations now, and it's a lot harder for you to leave. I'm with that Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell aspect where every day you reaffirming that I want to be with you because you're special, and there's nothing holding me there
Yeah.
outside of the fact that I just want to be there.
Yeah.
That's true love. That's true love for me.
Yeah, and to your point, there are way too many examples of that happening. The minute you jump the broom or walk down that aisle or whatever you call it, things just go downhill, and it's
Yeah.
just like, why?
It's the undeclared expectations of what marriage is supposed to bring versus the fact that you were already doing these things before you got that tangible quote unquote piece of paper. You were doing all these things.
Yeah, it's like, and we had a podcast about how things change and why the inequities of the husband and the wife, and when it comes to married couples. But it's almost like you work hard, you're a basketball player, you shoot 1,000 jumpers a day to get your 3-point shot corrected, and then you just get to a point where you feel like, okay, I got it, and you don't have to practice anymore. And it's like, no, it's not over. It's like this is where it begins. And this speaks to, in the last 2 minutes that we have, this speaks to the frustration that you always complain about when you talk about women having the goal to be married as if that's the end goal
That's
and
the
not
end
to have
goal.
a successful marriage.
It's a successful relationship. I mean, because the marriage thing, the only thing being married is the fact that, like I said, let's really be, you know, how to be anal with history and all that stuff. And marriage is, marriage is a bond under God and all this other crap that they want to sit there and say. And I'm not sitting there saying that part is crap, but at the same time,
Sound like you're saying it's crap.
if it was a marriage under God, why am I paying like all this money to get out of it? God had nothing to do with that finance part. I can sit there and go to church without all this other stuff and this piece of paper. I have to then have my reckoning with God
Ooh.
if I break that bond.
Oh my goodness. And I'm
Right? Right? I'm just
and
saying.
no, normally when I'm saying, oh my goodness, it's because you said something totally off the rails, but that is something serious. If you take a vow before God and then you break that vow, it's like, what is that saying about your relationship with God? I don't even want to touch that
I'm
because,
just saying.
but it is fair to ask the question because, and we had a podcast about God too, and yeah, I don't want to get back into that, but yeah, it's amazing to me in the last few seconds that we have that people will want something really bad a relationship, a man, a woman, or whatever, and because they want it, they'll say that God sent it to them, so it must be
Mm-hmm.
right. When it's like, no, God didn't
No,
send you that
God
person.
didn't send you. Just wanted that.
And
And,
then you're gonna
and
then you're gonna take a vow before God to stay with that person forever, and then you're like, nah, I changed my mind.
but see, but like I said,
God didn't
it's
send
not
him
the
to me
fact
after
that.
all.
But it goes up 3 seconds later. It's not the fact that they prayed to God for a relationship. They just prayed to God for a man, and which goes back to a podcast. Why are you getting married?
Well, they prayed. Well, they prayed to God for someone to do the things that they wanted to. But regardless of the idea that they had, um, in praying
What are
for
those
a
things
man,
though?
or praying for a man to do whatever, that man that you
Or
thought God sent to
woman,
you,
or woman,
or
or woman.
woman that you thought God sent to you, God probably, unless God wanted to teach you a horrible lesson, God didn't send that. So I think people need to stop putting so much on God's plate without checking and verifying with God that, is this really
and,
from you, God, or is it just
and
my lust that wants this person so bad that I'm just gonna put it on you?
and trust me, this is coming from the quote unquote, as Michael like to say, the pagan heathen.
That would be you, yes. But yeah, we're over time. Dating while adulting, that went quick. Thanks for stopping by. I am Michael. I am saying goodbye. Say bye, Reggie.
Bye, Reggie.
And we are clear into the after show. Yeah, that was something that I've always like. It's honestly always scared me, and it's all, and not to say that I would not marry someone who's been divorced before, but it has, the way that I was raised and stuff. It's always been something to think about, because the Bible teaches you that a vow before God is not just like you talking to God and say, "Hey, God, hook me up." It's like something that's more serious, and to break that, um, and it's deep, and it's
But like I said, the reason I brought it up, because like I said, I'm not as bound by the Judo-Christian traditions and stuff like that. So those vows are,
oh, we know you don't care.
yeah, okay, we put it that way.
Yeah,
But at the same time, if you care, you should care.
and that's the thing.
You know what I'm
And see,
saying?
that's why I always talk about, like, in the podcast that we had about God and stuff like that. It's not to diminish God by saying stuff like that, but the conversation we had about God is that people, it's not the doctrine that's the problem, it's the people that practice it that's the problem. And part of the problem is that they open themselves up for criticism about hypocrisy, because they pick and choose the
Yes.
things they choose to follow versus not. To
Yes.
stand in front of a preacher under the eyes of God, in your words, not yours, but the person, people who are getting married,
Mm-hmm.
and say, I'm going to be with
Look,
you through sickness and
this
through
is the
health
health.
and all of that stuff, and
Yep.
then be like,
Eh,
nah. Now,
eh,
I guess
10
you can,
years later, yeah, we grown up, we grew apart.
yeah, yeah. I guess you can repent, but I just don't really know how that works. And
Well,
I
my thing is this, because like I said, I am the married man, and I understand the other aspects of this thing. But at the same time, I'm also the heathen, where I did the traditional thing because my wife wanted, she is a Christian and she wanted to do under the vows and blah 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 and God and all this other stuff, the Judo Christian tradition. Um, but even before we got to that point, me being the Gnostic person that I am, the spiritual person I am, is like, is this person, forget the marriage part. Forget the marriage part. Because, like I said, the marriage part was a social contract for families to get property. Understanding that,
yeah,
I want to be with you until either one of us go out,
yeah.
right? Therefore, I should have vetted who you are.
Yeah.
to want to build this empire with whatever empire we want to build, even if it's just whatever it is. I should have vetted you enough and also understand myself enough to realize that we can do this. Yeah, there gonna be some troubles. There gonna be some hurricanes going on,
Yeah.
but as long as we both working together and communicating honestly forever until we go back into the great beyond, is the you're it.
Yeah.
You're it. That's your job. Your job is to help me help you, as the dude told me. Is it McGuire? McGuire. Help me help you.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing I don't want to do is, I know it sounds kind of judgy, but I really don't want it to come across as my being judgmental. It's honestly me asking questions. Now, obviously, Reggie, you can't answer the question, but it is just kind of putting it out there like, okay, what does it mean when you do this and then you do this? So it might come across as somebody saying, well, I'm judging. I can hear
Oh, I
people
forget all
talking
that.
about all that stuff.
I've said.
That's not the intent, but it is interesting to me that people do that. And that's one of the things about marriage that has always scared me, because you talk about that vetting. That's one of the main reasons I was single. Somebody told me once that we used to fight every week and they just be like, well, we can get married and figure it out later.
But see, also going to the whole the kid. They did the same thing with the kid thing, as if that's going to fix getting married and having kids is going to fix the problem. Outside of you sitting there like, we're going to fight it out and discuss it and talk about it, and then realize, no, we just don't see things eye to eye. It goes back to what you said earlier in the podcast aspect. No, I just desire you. So we're going to figure out a way to do it. Now, granted, I am hard headed sometimes because I just think that I can will things with my will. Was redundant as hell. I can manifest things with my will. I get that. But even I sit there and like, nah, that's just not gonna work. You're just not that person.
Yeah. And the thing about me, I know myself, and I don't just know myself for the good stuff. I know the bad parts of me, and I know the things that will cause a relationship to fail. And it
Such
doesn't
as,
necessarily
oh, such as, give me three.
three things about myself that
Yeah,
will
like I
cause a
said,
relationship to
you
fail.
open yourself up for that one, buddy.
Well, this is not a shocker to you. I am particular about how I like certain things done. And I am not the best at dealing with people that are flighty. Well, I don't see inconsistent. I'll say inconsistent. So I know how much that frustrates me, as opposed to some people who can just dismiss it. So those are two things.
Okay.
And then the third thing is that I know, like, the whole thing about living separately or not talking to someone every day. I know that if someone does want to be in my face every day, or if somebody does call me just to say, "What you doing?" I know that those types of things will annoy me. And it's not the kind of thing that I would figure that, well, once we get married, it'll just correct itself. And so part of the problem that I have is that women, and I'm only talking about women because that's what I date, but women that I've dated, because I'm a long-term thinker, and when I'm dating someone, I'm thinking about the long term and not just for the draws. I am like, okay, collecting data,
Collecting data.
and it's
Mhm.
things that women will be like, why are you so serious, or this doesn't even matter. And I'm like, it will
It will
matter five
matter.
years from now. It will matter
Exactly.
10 years from now. I'm
Exactly.
being particular. And even like Pamela says,
Pamela.
and Kobe, they say that you're so picky and you're just all this. I just know that these things that they say you shouldn't worry about are things that are going to rear their head up years down the road.
I get that.
And so I want to nip them in the bud now if it's possible. And up to this point, it hasn't been possible.
No, like I said, I totally agree with you on that, because when I was doing my assessment and I was telling my wife, and it's like when I said that I love you part, that's when that some people say when I actually mothered the I love you part, that's when you really were on the clock because we can still be doing all the stuff that we're doing. I'm still gathering information and stuff like that. But as you mentioned, um, when I love you or let's get married, and certain words are triggered, people change.
Yeah.
So therefore, you need to understand what you're dealing with. So when you throw that first "I love you" part out, um, then you like I said, then you're on the clock. It's like, okay, who am I really dealing with? And you studying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I don't like I said, I know women don't do it for the most part. There's probably 2% that do it. Men, I would say in a very large percentage, they don't do it either.
Yeah. I'm the same way with you because the minute I say tell somebody that I love them in that way, then they don't know it. But to me, that is saying we're getting married. And the only thing that's going to stop us from getting married is if you fuck it up. And inevitably, they fuck it up.
We'll talk about that a little later. But
Okay.
that part, I think you are a little bit picky. But I can't.
Well,
But we talk about that later because I need to get more details on
okay.
that.
That's fair. That's fair. On that note, I think we're done with this.
I think we are too.
Well, thanks for coming. Anybody that stayed, and if you didn't, you missed out. All right. Bye.
Bye. Oops, dropping.